20% of the global crude oil supply has just been cut off within the past 24 hours. Supply chains are fracturing. Inflation is exploding. This is no sci-fi movie scenario. According to the latest intelligence assessments from Reuters and Bloomberg, the Persian Gulf is a powder keg, waiting to detonate. The U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, backed by the firepower of a carrier strike group and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, has begun deploying mine-clearing operations in the Strait of Hormuz. Going beyond standard freedom of navigation operations, or FONOP, the Pentagon has just tightened its tactical grip, establishing a comprehensive naval blockade on Iran's key export ports. In retaliation against the blockade, Tehran immediately activated its anti-access area denial, or A2AD, defense network. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, has placed its coastal anti-ship cruise missile batteries and anti-ship ballistic missiles on the highest state of combat readiness. Their strike range covers all coalition bases throughout the Middle East. All diplomatic efforts have collapsed. In today's video, we will analyze the tactical variables on the ground, assess asymmetric warfare capabilities, and decode this unfolding scenario. The current geopolitical landscape is a complex tactical puzzle where every single move carries the risk of severe escalation. The initial strategic initiative rests firmly with Washington. According to intelligence analysis from the Wall Street Journal, CENTCOM's mine-clearing operation is not merely about securing a safe transit corridor. It is an act of sheer strategic deterrence. Avenger-class minesweepers, operating beneath the air defense umbrella of destroyers equipped with the advanced Aegis combat system, are asserting a core ultimatum. The U.S. military will ruthlessly maintain control over the international maritime lanes in the Persian Gulf. The focal point of this campaign, however, lies on the economic front. The naval blockade against Iran's port infrastructure is the primary lever, designed to completely neutralize their export capabilities. When crude oil cannot be shipped, the financial pipeline for proxy forces is severed. The Pentagon is pushing the rules of engagement, or ROE, right to the red line, of a full-scale armed conflict. Faced with this blockade, how will Tehran respond? A conventional naval engagement against the Fifth Fleet is tactically unfeasible. Instead, their military doctrine prioritizes asymmetric warfare, fully exploiting tactical flexibility. Security assessments from Al Jazeera's intelligence network indicate that the immediate threat does not come from large displacement frigates. It lies in overwhelming fire saturation, swarms of loitering munitions, explosive-laden unmanned surface vehicles, or USVs, and mobile short-range ballistic missile launchers have simultaneously transitioned to a DEFCON 2 level of combat readiness. The IRGC's kill web is by no means restricted to the maritime domain. Targeting data loaded into Tehran's systems is locked onto critical infrastructure, the network of U.S. forward operating bases, and the strategic petrochemical complexes of the Arab coalition. Should their swarm tactics penetrate the Patriot and THAAD air defense layers, the battle damage assessments, or BDA, would be catastrophic. At that point, a full-scale regional war will ignite. Parallel to the shifting naval force posture, another strategic front has just collapsed, the diplomatic channel. According to briefing reports in foreign policy, the de-escalation negotiations from late February have officially broken down. The core catalyst? The doctrine of brinkmanship. Washington adamantly demands that Tehran suspend all hostile interdictions, committing unconditionally to freedom of navigation operations, or FONOP, prior to any dialogue. Conversely, Iran has drawn a strict red line. The Pentagon must immediately lift all economic blockades. Caught between irreconcilable hardline postures and the imminent risk of military escalation, sheer strategic mistrust has paralyzed all efforts at negotiation. And just as the Persian Gulf edges toward the brink of a conventional war, an unexpected mediator is forced to intervene. Pakistan. Why is Islamabad the focal point? Occupying a core geopolitical position, sharing a direct land border with Iran, while maintaining a delicate balance of power between the Arab bloc and the NATO alliance, Pakistan has emerged as the rare intelligence nexus, capable of sustaining a multilateral back channel. Field reports from Reuters confirm that Pakistan's diplomatic corps is executing shuttle diplomacy at maximum intensity. They are racing against the clock to reestablish a framework for negotiations. However, a massive variable remains unverified. What strategic compromises is Islamabad actually preparing to put on the table? Does this initiative have the leverage to alter the rules of engagement, or is this merely the final tactical pause before the launch orders are given? Pivoting our analysis away from the military variables and the geopolitical deadlock at the negotiating table, we must confront a stark macroeconomic reality. How does a distant maritime hotspot deliver a direct blow to global purchasing power? The epicenter of this systemic risk is the Strait of Hormuz. This is no ordinary body of water. Military doctrine classifies it as the single most critical choke point in global commercial transit. Data reveals that approximately 20 to 21 million barrels of crude oil per day, accounting for a full 20% of the world's total energy supply, are forced to navigate through this narrow maritime corridor, spanning less than 25 miles across. If this maritime transit route is blockaded, the economic fallout will be far more devastating than any kinetic airstrike. Even a short-term Hormuz embargo would trigger an immediate supply shock in the spot market. Brent crude prices wouldn't just spike, they would definitively shatter historical resistance levels. This volatility creates a brutal macroeconomic transmission effect. Domestic fuel costs will skyrocket, driving global logistics and supply chain freight rates far beyond any conventional thresholds of control. And the ultimate macroeconomic doomsday scenario, stagflation, would immediately detonate. Every indicator of economic recovery across the U.S., the European Union, China, and emerging markets would face the severe threat of a double-dip recession. From the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, shaping everyday household goods, to global freight rates, down to currency exchange markets, everything now hinges entirely on that existential red line in the Persian Gulf. The international financial architecture is confronting a non-linear threat that no Aegis combat system could ever hope to intercept. Combat readiness is at its absolute peak. But will the Persian Gulf ignite a full-scale war? Intelligence agencies assess that the probability of a multi-front escalation remains extremely low. However, the greatest risk lies in tactical miscalculation. A cycle of proxy conflicts, or a target misidentification on an early warning radar system, is more than enough to plunge the Middle East into a localized conflict. Right now, the international focus for de-escalation rests entirely on the second round of negotiations, mediated by Pakistan. This is not merely a power deterrence standoff between Washington and Tehran. This is a core effort to protect the very survival of the global supply chain. Will the devastating risk of recession carry enough weight to force both nations to step back from the brink of conflict? Or will the strategic Hormuz choke point actually be blockaded? What's your take? Will Pakistan's diplomatic initiative restore stability, or is the Strait of Hormuz inevitably destined to become the next theater of operations? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to stay continuously updated with the sharpest military and geopolitical analysis. Until then, we'll see you at the next global hotspot.